Hi, I'm Maggie. Thank you for stopping by Crafts the Charm today. I'm so glad you're here. And these are Phragmites, which is a grass that grows around the marshes here in New England. And I just love it, and I've always wanted to make some faux Phragmites. I think that this would also work for pampas grass. We don't have that around here, so I'm not sure exactly what real pampas grass looks like, but maybe you'd like to tell me in the comments, especially if you think it looks very different from what my Phragmites grass is going to look like. So to make this, I'm going to use a method similar to the method I use to make bottle brush trees and the little animals that I've made with this technique as well. You don't need a drill, but I think this is going to be easier to do with a drill. So I'm going to use a drill, and I'm going to use jute twine and a little bit of florist wire. I'm using gold florist wire that I got at the Dollar Tree. To start, I'm going to cut 2 pieces of the florist wire that are approximately 7 inches long. And I'm going to twist the ends together about 1/2 inch, insert them into my drill and tighten the drill around them, and then separate the 2 pieces of wire. Now, I thought this worked best with 12 pieces of jute twine. So I'm cutting these to 4-inch lengths. And then I'm going to separate the lengths. And I'm going to be careful with this. I'm not trying to shred them because it is a little bit shreddy. I'm just trying to separate them into the 2 pieces that are twisted together. And now that they're all separated, I am going to fluff out the ends. So I'm going to sort of run my fingernail along the ends of them to separate out the fibers. So I'm going to do that at both ends, but leave the middle a little bit more twisted together. That's not critically important. I have done it both ways with the fibers completely untwisted. It's just that it does tend to fall apart. So if you leave the middle a little bit twisted, it will hold together a little bit better and you'll end up with less waste. As I untwist the ends of each fiber, I then lay them down across the middle of my wire. And I'm going to lay them down for about 3 inches. So I found that 12 pieces untwisted could take up about 3 inches. I'm not doing this in a thick layer the way I do with a bottle brush tree. Once I have all of the pieces untwisted and laid out on the wire, I'm going to smooth out the 2 pieces of wire, push them together and smooth them out. So now we have a sandwich, piece of wire on top and a piece of wire under the pieces of jute. And then I'm going to twist the end that's not in the drill a little bit and clamp that with a needle nose pliers. You can hold it with your hand, but I thought it was a little bit easier with the pliers. And then very carefully lift the entire thing, drill, pliers, and jute off of the table so that when I turn the drill, the jute won't touch the table. So we need this up in the air a little bit, and then very slowly run the drill. This is going to twist the wire and eventually twist it where the jute is so that the jute is held tight in the wire. If you do it too quickly, you are probably going to break the wire, and it doesn't take very long. So just lift it up and slowly run the drill. You can also do this entire thing by hand. I've done it before, but I find that it comes out a little neater if you use a drill. Now, once that is well twisted, release the wire from the drill. And what I'm going to do is I have the end that was in the drill. I'm going to leave that. The other end, the end I was holding with the pliers, I'm going to snip that off about 1/4 to 1/2 inch and then fold it over and crimp it together so that I don't have a sharp end sticking out. And when I run the drill, I found that the jute twisted around the wire a little bit, so I'm just going to untwist the jute, separate it a little more, and I'm going to push it all in the direction of the wire that I cut and crimped. I used a little hairbrush and very gently brushed it a little bit. This helped to fluff it out a little bit and get it all going in the right direction. Now, don't throw away the little bits of jute that end up in the hairbrush because we are going to use some of that later. Now, for each stalk of faux Phragmites, or blade, I don't know what you would correctly call it, I'm going to make 3 of these 4-inch tufts, I guess you could call it, and I'm also going to make a 6-inch tuft. So the same exact process, I cut 7 inches of wire, 2 pieces, twisted them together, put them in the drill, and then I cut 12 6-inch pieces of jute twine. This isn't going to look a lot different, but it is going to be just a little bit longer. So same thing, separated the pieces, then fluffed the ends, laid them out on the wire, twisted the end of the wire carefully, picked it off the table, has to be a little higher this time, and then ran the drill, crimped the end, and then brushed the twine towards the end I had crimped. So what I have here is 3 6-inch pieces, tufts, whatever, and 9 4-inch tufts. And so what I'm going to do is take a 6-inch tuft and then take a 4-inch tuft and lay it over it, but a little bit below, and then twist their wires together, and then put one of the 4-inch tufts on the other side. So basically making a sandwich, but the 4-inch tufts are a little bit lower than that 6-inch tuft. And then I'm going to take one more 4-inch tuft and put it still a little bit lower, and again, just twist the wires together. And I'm doing 3 of those right here, and you can see they all have their own personality. Now I want to make these tall because Phragmites and pampas grass are very tall. So I'm going to use 2 things. I don't think you need to use both of them, but I'm going to show you what I did. What I have here is this 4-strand 20-gauge multi-purpose wire, which I picked up at the Home Depot. I've used this for a lot of projects. It's really handy. And I'm going to cut some different lengths of this because this is going to give me some variation in height for my different blades of Phragmites. So I cut between, I would say, about 8 inches and 12 inches long of this, one piece for each of my tufts. And then what I did was I opened up the wire at the end because this is several pieces of wire stranded together, and I took my tuft and I twisted the tuft around it, and then I twisted the wire around the tuft. So I'm sort of twisting both pieces of wire together. And once I had those all twisted together, I did something for these that I did not do for my prototype, the first one I made, just to see if this process would work. I took a little bit of masking tape and I wrapped that around the wire. I don't think this step is strictly necessary, but it does sort of contain the wire a little bit and gives it a little bit more stability. Now for the next step, I'm going to use these 32-inch bamboo skewers. And I've used these for several projects. The most recent was when I made a fence for my haunt. I like this brand, this Ozark Trail brand, which I get at Walmart because it's very inexpensive. These used to be under $1 not that long ago. Now they're about $2, but it's still a lot cheaper than other 32-inch bamboo skewers. So I'm going to use one of these for each of my tuft and wire combinations. And this is what's going to give my Phragmites its height. So these bamboo skewers, because they're skewers, they have a pointy end and a flat end. We're going to use the pointy end, and I'm going to twist the bottom of the wire around the pointy end. Now, again, I didn't do this next step with my prototype, but I figured I already had the masking tape out, so I wrapped masking tape around the bamboo skewer and wire as well. Now, we have the top and we have the height. We need something to cover the wire and the bamboo skewer to make it look like a stem of grass. And what I have is this paper twist. So what I'm going to do is untwist the paper twist, and it's about an inch wide when I untwist it. If you have a wider one, you don't need to fully untwist it because we're just going to glue it around our wire and our skewer. But I'm going to untwist this until I have a little bit longer than what I need. And then I'm going to use just white glue, school glue, PVA glue, to glue this to my stem. So I'm just going to sort of paint glue on it and then wrap it around the stem and just work my way down. Now, up at the top where we have the wire, and we have wires twisted together and wire twisted around the bamboo skewer, I added another layer. And so I would just say add as many layers as you need to obscure the wire so you can't see it. We just don't want it to be too thick. Now, my paper twist is not really the same color as my jute twine, and that's why I told you to reserve that fluff that you brushed off of the jute. So what I'm going to do is just apply a very small amount of that to the top of the stem near the jute, and sort of try to do an ombre kind of thing, sort of try to blend it in so that there isn't such a stark contrast between the color of the jute at the top and the color of the paper twist. Now, I was originally thinking before I decided to use the paper twist that I would mix up some paper mache and color it to match the jute. And if you don't have paper twist, I think that would work really well. I was going to blend some tissue paper with water and then get the water out, add glue, and add some paint. So that is another way that you could do the stem, and that way you could get the color that you want. But since I already had this paper twist, this is what I used. And I think adding just a very small amount of that jute fluff to the top makes the color blend really well and makes it look a lot more natural. And so I just put glue then over that to seal it in. And the final step is just let this dry. So I have this floor vase, and usually I have pussy willows in it. In fact, I made some of those pussy willows. See if you can tell which ones I made. You probably can. And there's my crane from my coastal garden. He's inside for the winter. But I want to put the Phragmites in this vase. So I'm pretty pleased with the Phragmites I made. And here they are. I would love to know what you think. And do you think that they could pass for pampas grass, or how do I make them look more like pampas grass? Please tell me in the comments. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoy this sort of content, please subscribe to Crafts the Charm. Thank you for spending time with me today. Take care.